I'm going to bring on my guest, and maybe he'll have a certain point of view on what's taking place. We are joined, the man, the legend, Dr. Wilmer Leon. How you doing, Dr. Leon?
Man, I'm talking to Jamal Thomas. That means I'm gonna mess around and find something out.
Are you? I was hoping to mess around, find something out with you.
Yeah, but
Let me see if this
what
works.
you find out of me, you don't really want to know.
Oh, good.
What's going
Okay,
on?
so this does kind of work. I've been playing around with backgrounds, trying to get one of these things straight to look better. I don't like this background though, so let's go to the regular one, and I'll fix that later. Um, a deal is on the table. A deal has been accepted. Israel has still been murdering Palestinians despite the fact that the deal is on the table. Apparently, they're saying they have to wait until it's ratified by the Knesset, and up to that point, they're going to continue to murder people. Um, I'm resisting everything in me from downing this deal. Everything in me, I'm resisting. I don't have skin in the game in the real sense of the word. So it's not my kids getting murdered. It's not my wife getting murdered, even though I don't have a wife. It's not my dogs getting kicked and killed. By the same token, distrust. Oh, distrust is radical. Give me your take on this. Maybe they're seeing something that I'm not. I mean, every world leader has come out and effectively said, we back this deal. Even Putin, who was like, yeah, we back this deal. I had coffee with Tony Blair in this kind of weird commentary about Tony Blair. I'm also seeing something very specific in the way that this deal is being talked about. They keep saying a deal is reached on the first phase of the deal, meaning they keep saying first phase. Everything that I've read up to this point, it says first phase of the deal has been agreed upon. First phase of the deal has been agreed upon. So obviously, this is not 20 points. What they've agreed upon is in the war, release the Israeli hostages and Palestinian hostages, entry of aid into Gaza, and withdrawal of Israeli troops. And apparently that withdrawal is supposed to take place in stages. Give me your point of view. This has been 2 years. We've, on the anniversary of October 7th, 2 days beyond the anniversary. What are your thoughts?
Well, in listening to your open, one of the questions that you posed was how can you sit and watch humans get slaughtered? And the simple answer to that question is the Zionist Israeli government does not see the Palestinians as human. So I think that's the simple answer to that question. They are white supremacists who don't see the Palestinians as human. And I know this to be fact because in talking to Israeli Americans who were taught in Israeli schools, that's what they were taught. When you talk to Miko Peled, he will tell you what he was taught in elementary school, what he was taught in high school. Very similar to the white racist Southerners in Mississippi and in Alabama and in Arkansas. They were taught that African Americans were subhuman. So that's the first. I mean, they being the racist white Southerners, they even created a pseudoscience called eugenics as a rationale to support their genocide in the United States. And we know, of course, that whether it was the apartheid in South Africa or the apartheid and genocide that we're seeing play itself out in historic Palestine, that it was patterned after the United States. You mentioned
Please.
trust. I can't speak for the Palestinians because I'm not close enough to the circumstance to be able to, but I will raise these questions. And they're questions that I've been asking for a very long time. One is, how do you sit and negotiate? And in another life, that's what I did. I was a contracts negotiator in the telecom industry.
Mhm.
With someone who has already made it very, very clear through their own statements and actions that their primary focus is your extermination. How do you negotiate with that? I don't, and that's not a rhetorical question. I don't know the answer to that question. How can you negotiate with someone who has sworn for years? Folks, this doesn't have anything to do with October 7th of 2023. This goes back to 1946. October 7th, 1923 was a response by Hamas to the travesties and the genocide that's been going on since 1946. That has to be very clear.
Yep.
How do you trust a government that murdered your negotiators while they were in Qatar, allegedly, supposedly working on a negotiation? You sent a missile into the, if they had not left their phones on the table as they went to the mosque to pray, most of them would be dead now. That's what saved their lives. It was time for Juma. They left their phones in the conference room where they had been meeting, went to pray, missile comes into the room. How do you trust the supposed independent arbiter, the United States, who first of all greenlit that move, murdered General Qasem Soleimani as he was in Iraq
For negotiations,
negotiating a peace deal between the Saudis and the United States, and I believe he was operating, if not at the behest of, clearly with the agreement of the United States. How do you trust that? I don't know the answer to that question.
What's the alternative? That's the rub, right? I mean, you have a situation where they've been murdering people.
The alternative in a resistance movement is to continue to resist. But if that's easy for me to say, sitting here in my office, I don't think a missile's going to come through my window. But how can I trust Kristi Noem and that a Black Hawk helicopter won't fly over my roof and ICE agents won't rappel on top and break up my solar panels? I can't trust that. So my very simplistic answer is, what do you do? And I don't, please do not take this as a criticism of Hamas, because I'm not there. I don't know.
Right.
You asked me, what do you do? As a resistance movement, you continue to resist. This may very well be, and I'm using this statement to make the point, not to accuse anyone of anything. He who fights and runs away lives to fight another day. So this may very well be a move on their part, very similar to what the Ukraine did with the
Pull back. Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank now on the name.
Minsk agreements. Huh? Well, the Minsk agreements, where they effectively build a huge military. Yeah.
This may be a Minsk move. You're a chess player. This may be, you might find this move on the chessboard It's called the Minsk move.
Yeah.
I bring my rooks back only to bring them forward. I move my bishops, and
Briar defense.
huh?
Knight deceive briar defense.
Well, right. Could
Regal
now
players,
could
Knight
now
C3,
become
then
a
bringing that back
Minsk
to the
move.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I guess my feeling is the same as yours.
Wait a minute. If I don't say this, I'll forget. The independent arbiter, supposedly the United States, in a negotiation says, if you don't sign, we're going to obliterate you. What?
That's the independent arbiter.
That's the independent
That's the independent guy.
That's the guy with the deal.
And by the way, Trump has been doing this bizarre role where he thinks that people actually believe that he's some kind of mediator. Like in Ukraine, same thing, right? You're putting all of this money into a war, you're sending weapons, you're threatening some tomahawks, you're saying all of this stuff, and you're claiming to be a negotiator. And in this, you're giving Israel any and everything in its power to murder as many people as it wants, including political cover, as it does so. Even going after political opposition in the United States, which is radically anti-American, because after all, we have the First Amendment in this country, and still act as if I'm the mediator. How are you a mediator? Israel is your rogue, quote unquote, rogue actor that goes out and does and affects policy in the Middle East on behalf of the United States. And I'm the mediator in this. I should get a Nobel Peace Prize.
Donald Trump says, sign it or we'll obliterate you. You know my affinity for the Godfather. Kay asked Mike, who's that scary, scary man sitting over there? Mike says, oh, that's a very scary man. Who is he, Mike? That's Luca Brasi. Who is he? Oh, he does things for my father from time to time. He went in when the band leader wouldn't release his godson and wouldn't sign the deal for $10,000. Luca pulls out a pistol and says, either your brains or your signature are going to be on the agreement. The next day, he signed a certified check for $1,000. How did he do that? My father made him an offer he couldn't refuse. That's straight gangster.
It is. It is. He can pull that on weaker bodies. No. Obviously, he can't do that when he's dealing with equals.
Game ain't over.
No, it's not that I think the game is over. I guess from my point of view, I kind of look at it in the way that you look at it. Like everything in me, feeling-wise, hates this because I don't trust this.
You can't trust
everything he says in every other situation. We've been here before. Hey, there's a deal on the table. Joe Biden gets a deal, quote unquote. They're going to end the conflict. Israel does something to kill the deal. And what does the U.S. do? Invariably, that damn Hamas. That damn Hamas keeps foiling the deal. And it's like, so when we've been here 3 or 4 times before, what am I to think? I'm to think Israel does something to kill the deal. They're
doing Hamas. They're doing it right now.
Well, they're murdering people en masse.
That the whole card, or the Trump card, no pun intended. And I asked this to Laith Maroof yesterday. Ansar Allah. Where's Ansar Allah in this? And I think missiles are going to two things are, I think, could very well happen. One is even though Ansar Allah has said that I think that they'll go along with whatever Hamas tells them to go along with.
Right.
That the United States / Israel, because that's basically one contingent, will then try to turn their sights on Ansar Allah, who will then say, well, all bets are off. We're going in both feet, 10 toes down, and or the United States and Israel will now take this as the green light to attack Israel.
You mean Iran?
to attack Iran, and that will scuttle the deal. Because the one thing that Minister Farrakhan was very clear: never underestimate the blindness that attends arrogance. You don't see with your eyes, you see with a combination of your heart and your mind. Mm-hmm. And your eyes are blinding you to the realities that are right in front of you. And so if, in fact, the Knesset approves this, if, in fact, Israel withdraws to the agreed to border, if, in fact, they stop their extermination of Palestinians, it's not going to last long.
Yeah.
Because the objective of Israel is to exterminate the Palestinians.
There's also something else that I don't think people entirely realize, that if Israel had the military capability that it wanted and boasted about, they wouldn't be signing this deal.
No.
Meaning, I get the sense that this deal is our military is exhausted. Mm-hmm. We need a breather and we need a way out of this.
It's a Minsk agreement.
It's a Minsk agreement.
From the other perspective.
Yeah.
From the other side. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And pay attention to the headlines. If the Knesset does approve the deal, and we know one of the sticking points is, even if this is even fathomable, that there are people more conservative than Netanyahu, and there are people more evil than him, if that is even possible, like Smotrich and Gavir.
They've already been complaining, by the way.
You didn't go far enough. You didn't kill enough. There are Palestinians still alive. No, we can't accept this. We have to kill them all. So we'll see. But they will, the point I was going to make is, they will see this as victory. But those of us who know, you basically got taken to a standstill. And you're claiming the standstill as victory. But when one of the other points here is, this keeps getting described as and defined as a war. It is not a war. These are not two equal parties engaged in conflict. This is not a war. The Zionist government of Israel is occupying the space called Gaza, called the West Bank, called Palestine. They are occupying the space. That is why, according to the United Nations, this is not Wilmer Leon being anti-whatever, Semitic, the occupied territories. That's still what that space is officially recognized as, the occupied territories. Mm-hmm. That means that the Zionist government of Israel is the occupier, and the Palestinians are the occupied. It's not a war. It's a resistance to occupation. And some may think, oh, Wilmer, potato.
No.
The language is very important, because the ability to define is the ability to control.
So true. I keep making the point that just because you can kill a lot of people doesn't mean you can accomplish your objectives. And
absolutely not.
Because I think people look at this and think, well, man, they've murdered over 100,000 people. Obviously, this is, decimation. And as I point out, yeah, but the majority of those weren't enemy combatants,
You were
meaning
children.
those weren't people who resist. Those were just women, and children, the majority of which were just children.
Yeah.
Killing a lot of people is not me. The United States was able to kill millions of Vietnamese. It lost the war.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about how many people you murder, unless you're Israel and just put
Right.
murder as part of your agenda. But that
Which
is
we did.
not the same thing as winning a conflict and winning a war. What Israel wanted was either extermination or, at the very least, expel all of those Palestinians out of that region. Those Palestinians are still there. Hamas still exists.
And this is, I believe, what at this stage of the process, the Zionists are truly afraid of. Those children will grow up, and those children will return, and they won't be happy.
I have a clip of an Israeli woman talking about those kids.
Because
she's
look,
like, you got to kill all of them.
You also have to understand the mindset. You have to understand the culture. There's a great piece written by a late Palestinian psychiatrist, Dr. Iyad Siraj. It's called "Why We Blow Ourselves Up." You can find it. It's just a one-page article. It was in Time Magazine, 2002. If you just Google "Why We Blow Ourselves Up," it should be the first thing that comes up. And I think that this is in the piece. If not, it's in one of the two interviews that I did with him before he passed. And that is, they don't forget. See, in the West, we have very short memories in the West. Part of it has to do with the fact that the United States is only 249 years old, whereas they're thousands of years old. So when they say this isn't over, they don't mean me and you. They mean it ain't over till it's over. If my great grandson has to walk into your living room with a grenade in his pants, he's going to walk in and handle his business, because we will never stop telling the story. The story of the Nakba will never be. You can kill a whole lot of Palestinians, but you can't kill the story of the Nakba. You can't, Donald Trump, no matter what you do with the African American History Museum, you can't erase African American history.
Right.
And so, y'all can lounge around the Mediterranean at your new resort all you want. And when that Palestinian waiter hands you that drink with the cyanide in it, God bless you.
I think part of it too is it's kind of like the abuser not fully grasping or not caring about the abuse that he imparts.
What did Seeley say to Mr.? What did Seeley say? Until you do right by me, everything you touch. Hey.
But it's true, right?
For real.
Like, trauma sticks. And the people who impart that trauma
more than pleasure.
They're very ready to just, I don't know why you're still complaining about that. Why is that still an issue?
Right.
Why are you still, slavery
I slapped you last week. What's your problem?
Yeah, what's your problem? Why you still complaining?
Annie Mae, what's your problem?
And mind you, these are the same people who are permanent victims of something that happened like 100 years ago, that still bathe in that as their cultural identity. And anything that comes up, they would use, well, we were in the Holocaust, so you should give us money. We were in the Holocaust, so you should, talk to us like children, or not bring up, the fact that we're committing genocide.
Give me my stuff back. That painting that's hanging in some millionaire's dining room over the dining room table belonged to my great grandfather, and you stole it from him in 1938. I want it back. And I'm going to go to court and I'm going to get it back. Because I have a photograph of my grandfather's living room, and there's the painting. The movie The Equalizer 2, one of the subplots in The Equalizer 2 is the old cat that's trying to get that painting back. Mm-hmm. that was taken from his grandparents.
Oh, during the Holocaust.
If you remember if you ever saw the Equalizer 2.
Saw the first one, didn't see the second.
Second one's very good. One of the subplots is there's a older Jewish guy who's in his 80s that has been for the last 40 years trying to get this painting back that he saw in a magazine that actually was stolen from his parents during World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't tell you the outcome, but because you should see the movie. It's very good. Anyway, no. And see, that kind of narrative in a film is one of those very subtle mechanisms that demonstrates how media is used to continue to tell a story. They weave this narrative into a film so that people like me and people like you will continue to think. But see, I'll just leave it there. That's a whole nother conversation we could have about the power of the media and how the media is used to perpetuate narratives.
Yes. Well, look how it's used now: hostages versus prisoners.
Absolutely.
Okay, those people are hostages. Yeah, those people are captive every bit as much.
They're captives.
Yeah. It leaks out of everything that's being said, the way that the media frames the stuff.
Nobody talks about the Hannibal directive.
They do not.
Which other than to say it isn't true, but if you can find stories in Haaretz that validates the reality. Netanyahu don't give a damn about the hostages, about the captives, about the whatever you want to call them, the folks that got took. He don't give a damn about those people because they have an established order within the IDF. We don't negotiate for the return of. In fact, we'll shoot them ourselves.
They did shoot them themselves.
If we know that they're about to be taken, we will shoot them ourselves. So you can't use them as leverage.
Hundreds of Israelis were shot by Israel.
Exactly.
On October 7th. Hundreds. Exactly. Like whatever that number is, but again, when the media talks about it, 1,200 people were killed on October 7th, ignoring the fact that 400 or 500 of them were killed by Israel themselves.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're absolutely right in the way that the media talks about stuff.
Look it up. Don't sit here listen to this and say, oh, Jamal and Wilmer are. No, what we're doing is we're telling you what they are saying. It's in Haaretz, which is a liberal Jewish newspaper. Look it up.
Yeah, don't take my word for it. It's true.
What did Malcolm say? If my telling you the truth makes you angry, don't get angry at me. Get angry at the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have very mixed feelings about this.
I don't. My feelings are pretty clear. Ain't no mix here.
It's mixed only because I don't.
I get your point.
Yeah. It's like, okay, does the killing stop, even if it's for a period of time?
No.
Well, I mean, it may just for a period. Because the question that people ask is that when I was reading this stuff from the hostage negotiator, I mean, not the hostage negotiator, the guy who helped effectively negotiate the deal and was, in some respects, a back channel. And he points out that the same deal was available over a year ago, that Hamas was more than open to take this deal, and that it was the Biden administration that just wouldn't move on it. And at a certain point, they realized, okay, well, the Biden administration is too weak, and they need something else in order to push this deal through, because ultimately Netanyahu would accept whatever Trump pushes through, meaning if Trump says, this is what we're doing, they're a client of the U.S., ultimately, right? And he said up to that point, they could never get Biden to move on it. And then Netanyahu obviously didn't want to move on it, in which case it languished.
Well, who's the they? Who's the they that couldn't see? Because as soon as you say Biden wouldn't move on it and Netanyahu wouldn't move on it, then who's the they? Because that says to me, it's not on Biden. Netanyahu didn't pick up the phone and say, Sleepy Joe, put down your ice cream. We got some business to handle. Because remember, Netanyahu in the Oval sat next to Sleepy Joe and said, Joe Biden said, I'm a Zionist. I'm an Irish Zionist. And Joe Biden said, I'm a Zionist. And Netanyahu said, you're an Irish Zionist, which let you know that not all Jews are Zionists and not all Zionists are Jews.
Well, yeah, and so, obviously, and making a distinction.
So who's the they? See, I think I don't know. And again, if I don't know, I'm gonna tell you I don't know. I don't know that this is a Joe Biden, Donald Trump thing. I don't. When someone,
what do you mean? Explain that.
Well, because you said.
Well, I was only going.
The deal was on the table a year ago, and Joe Biden wouldn't take it.
Right, that they were trying to push him, and he wouldn't touch it.
So who's the they? In that pronoun they, who's the they that couldn't push Biden but's pushing? I don't know who the they are.
Oh, you mean who the negotiator was in this case?
Okay.
So the way I can only go by the way he explains it.
Okay.
And he points out that the deal had been on the table. Nobody would pick it up. Hamas was willing to accept that deal. That this is effectively the same deal that a year ago,
right?
That Netanyahu wouldn't touch, Joe Biden wouldn't touch.
Right.
He says they went to negotiations in Qatar. Qatar was bombed, at which point Hamas was like, we're out. It's like, obviously, it took the United States to be involved in this. Trump sends a message saying, hey, we weren't involved. They don't believe him, nor should they have believed him.
Right.
The negotiator keep pushing on this particular issue, and eventually they get everybody to come to the table. Trump picks up the deal. And the belief, and again, this is their belief, is that because Donald Trump has taken such a lead in this and put his face on it, that he's more inclined to ensure that the deal, at the very least, lasts for a period of time. Now, I don't know why they think that. I don't know why they think that.
That's true. And the reason you are skeptical is you are very correct in your skepticism because it isn't true.
Yeah.
It's not true.
Yeah. We'll see.
You can't. That sounds more like Donald Trump Nobel Peace Prize propaganda than reality.
But see, that's the rub, right? You have these people who are looking. That entire deal is set with Israel framing, and again, the only part that seems to be accepted is the first part. The other stuff,
because there won't be a second part.
Right. I mean, because like you think, the first part of the deal, which, that word is very specific, right? It's not like Hamas has accepted the entire deal. It's not that. The other stuff is apparently going to still be negotiated.
Because here's the question, or one of the questions. The first part of the deal is the release of the captives and the Palestinian prisoners. Netanyahu doesn't give a damn about those lives. But politically, for Netanyahu, based upon the pressure that's being put upon him by the families of those people, he's got to make that go away. So the first part of the deal is what he really needs politically in his own country, well, the country they're occupying, to make that go away. He can turn to those families and say, I got your remains back. I got your live son back. After that, this is one of the things I'm trying to figure out. The only leverage that I see that the Palestinians have left are the captives. You give them up right up front off the jump, and what do you have left?
Apparently, a guarantee from Donald Trump that they won't resume the war.
And
you look at that and
how in
think,
the hell
yes,
can you trust that maniac?
I don't have an answer for that. I don't have an answer
All
for that.
he does is lie.
I don't have an answer for that.
That's why the Epstein files have not been released, because he's a liar.
Well, maybe he's in those files. That's why.
Well, no, but he ran on, I'm going to release the Epstein files. I'm going to release the Epstein files. Pictures of you with scantily clad women, hand clasping buttocks. How can you? I don't know.
They got to have their reasons. I can only go by Hamas on this one, I can only go by what Hamas wants.
So they know something. Obviously, they know many things I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do know
they're living through.
Can't trust Donald Trump. I know that.
No, you cannot. You cannot. Speaking of can't trust Donald Trump, Russia has put out recently, and this was the foreign minister. What is his name? Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Rabakov, and he puts out what seems to be obviously true at this point, considering Donald Trump is threatening to send missiles, Tomahawk missiles. Now, I haven't spent a huge amount of time talking about the Tomahawk missiles because, from my point of view, it's not a thing until it's a thing. Until those things are sent, until those things are armed by the United States, it's not really a thing. It's a bluff. And it's one thing to bluff somebody who is weaker than you. It is another thing to bluff when you have no cards and they know you have no cards. By the same token, the very fact that you're willing to do that gets across something, meaning it means something, right? That's not just random. Rabakov is making the point of saying all the momentum that was summit has effectively failed. That the meeting and everything else, all of the goodwill that might have been there, and this idea that they're moving in a particular direction, all of that has stopped. That is over with. And this is a building, I think he described it as a building that is broken to its foundation. That this is a building that needs to be rebuilt. It's not something that can just be plastered over and fixed to move forward. Give me your take on that. I mean, I will tell you this, and I'm always interested in taking people who worked at the radio station on stuff like this. When we first left the station, effectively fired by the federal government, the federal government got involved. There was this thought by many at the station, okay, is this going to be resolved? And is this going to be resolved in a few months? Is this going to be resolved at all? Meaning, many people took what Donald Trump was saying, or at the very least was hoping that what Trump was saying was going to be some level of legit, that I'm going to end the war, it's not my war, et cetera, et cetera. What people don't realize, though, is that Donald Trump is terrified of being blamed for failing in Ukraine, which is, there's no way out that box, because either one way or the other, you're going to fail in Ukraine. Either you make a deal or you try to save face in some kind of deal, or you just fail in Ukraine. And he seems to be of mind that, well, I could just sell them weapons and they could just keep going indefinitely. So it won't look like I failed in Ukraine. Whatever other schmo gets in, at some point they'll collapse, and they'll collapse on their watch, not on my watch, because I'm just going to keep giving them weapons, missing the fact that they're going to run out of bodies. Give me your take on this. Did you think that, one, did you think Trump was serious? And B, give me your thoughts on what Rabakov is saying.
One of the big mistakes, because I, like you, was hearing a lot of that same analysis, and the flaw in the analysis is that it's actually Trump that matters. And this kind of goes back to the point I was making when we were talking about the deal was on the table for Biden, and now this is not administration specific policy. This is American foreign policy, irregardless of who is at the Resolute desk. So when Donald Trump comes in saying, I'm going to end this war, you don't end nothing until Raytheon and Lockheed Martin tell you you can, along with the ideologues that, have bought into the Brzezinski full spectrum and the whole full spectrum dominance thing. No. So I listened to that, but I couldn't understand how those that were subscribing to that, I think they were giving Donald Trump too much credit. Because now what has happened is Europe has picked up the mantle. And Europe is now implementing a lot of the same neoliberal policies that a lot of the European economies are being crippled by the very same neoliberal policies and ideologies that have crippled the American economy. Mercedes, the German auto industry because the German auto industry has been on the decline for a number of years, they're shifting away from automaking to weapons manufacturing. Sounds like World War II in the United States to me.
Well, I mean, there's a difference.
Huh?
There's a difference. Europe doesn't have an industrial base. They don't have a
no. Just the very simple point. Just a very simple point of domestic industrial capacity being shifted to military capacity. That's the only parallel I'm drawing there. France is doing the same thing. Greece and Italy were doing this relative to the neoliberal policies, not necessarily the militaristic aspect of it, but we first started hearing the problems with the implementation of neoliberalism in Italy and in Greece 10 years ago. And now people are in the street because their social safety net programs are being decimated at the expense of neoliberalism. Germany, their social safety net programs are being decimated at the expense of neoliberalism. So Germany is now on this track. So and Russia and this conflict in Ukraine is being utilized as the rationale for why this has to be done. That's been the number one on their hit parade in terms of selling this whole flawed BS to the people. We have to defend ourselves. Putin is a madman. He's going to take over Europe, and then he's going to the moon.
Not in that order.
To infinity and beyond. Right. So the train has left the station, but Donald Trump is not the conductor on this train.
He's a very weak man.
He might be at the brake, but he ain't conducting the train.
He is shockingly weak for a president. I mean, Joe Biden was weak also, but Donald Trump is the one who fashions himself as a tough guy. But he's not.
But Donald Trump had no worldview. Donald Trump is a fool.
No, I agreed. But even a fool, like I'll give you an example. Joe Biden might have been out of his mind. Like his brain might have been mush. Like if you put him under an X-ray, it'd be like, "Well, this looks like Jell-O."
Right.
But he had one thought.
It was Play-Doh.
Play-Doh. Thank you. But he had one thought. We need to keep moving forward. We need to get Ukraine and NATO. We need to do so and so. Meaning he has his thoughts in regards to this kind of American primacy, even though it's delusional, even though it's not realistic. He had thoughts in that direction and was willing to push in that direction, even to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars, even to the tune of pushing Europe, even to the tune of, bringing us to the brink of a third world war. He was willing to do it because that was his ideology. As you point out, Trump doesn't have an ideology in a sense. At least I don't think he does. I think he's a petty, tiny man who, if you prick him, he will bleed and scream. That's who he is, right? So you get a little pressure from Europe, and he tells Europe whatever he needs to. hey, yeah, we got security guarantees, etc. Okay, none of that stuff happened, right? Russia didn't give you squat. Putin told you exactly what he wanted. That's what he told you. How you explain it to the Europeans is something fundamentally different. But he gets nothing out of it because he has no cards in that situation. And so he's doing everything in his power to get cards. Okay, we're going to work with Ukrainians to go after the gas thing. So we're going to blow up gas, fuel tanks and all of the stuff around Russia. We're going to try to go after Europe in order to get them to stop doing gas. Meaning he's a man in search of leverage in order to assert some kind of strength that he just doesn't have, can't find. And so you end up with where we are now, where the Europeans would say, hey, we don't want to do anything that ends this conflict because we're also delusional every bit as much as you are. And Trump is stuck in this kind of weird spot of, well, I might send tomahawks, as if that's going to change the context of the situation. I think you're right. I don't think he has an ideology in the way that Joe Biden has. So any push just pushes him. Last guy in the room is the guy that he effectively listens to and will tell you whatever you need to hear as a salesman and as a con artist.
Joe Biden was surrounded by ideologues, people, for example, from the Brzezinski school.
Yes.
Between two ages, Brzezinski. He was surrounded by Anthony Blinken, ally versus ally. These were, for as sick as these people were and are, they did have a worldview. Trump is surrounded by incompetence. He is, because most of the people that are standing around him at the Resolute desk, they're there because they contributed to the campaign,
right? And
they're sycophants. The Peter principle, most of them have been promoted to their levels of incompetence. They don't know what they're doing. Look at the woman that's prosecuting Comey. Yeah. Walks into the wrong courtroom, sits on the wrong side of the courtroom, and hands the judge 3 conflicting documents of which she has signed. And the judge says, "What in the world is this?" "I don't know." "What do you mean?" "I don't know." So I'm not saying Joe Biden was right. At least he had a world view, right? And he had something upon which to base decisions. Donald Trump is a transactional boob who can only he can't think beyond the immediate piece of paper in front of him. There's no long-term objective here. Mm-mm. So, but again, the train, now Europe is on board, and the Europeans are following the United States down this rabbit hole. People need to ask themselves, whatever happened to the Nord Stream pipeline? Remember that? And who blew that up and why that got blown up? And that blew up everything.
Yeah. Dr. Leon, always appreciate talking to you, man. I learned something in all these conversations. I really do.
Thank you. You just need to get out more. That's all.
Is that what it is? That's it. Dr. Wilmer Leon, radio host, political scientist, nationally syndicated columnist, host of Connecting the Dots, and also Sirius radio station. What is the name of that show, please?
Inside the Issue, Saturdays from 11 to 2 p.m. Eastern.
Check them out.
You Channel 126.
Fantastic rest of your day, man. Thank you for this. Be safe. All right.